There are several ways to factor trinomials into the product of two binomials. The simplest is called normal factoring. And hopefully I'll be able to clearly communicate the conditions under which you do normal factoring. Okay, you'll understand what that means in a moment. Okay, most of the trinomials that you'll be factoring in this section are of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Ax squared plus bx plus c, which may look like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but really what this is a general form for most of the trinomials you'll be factoring, where a, b, and c are rational numbers. Okay, meaning that you can have whole numbers in there, you can have fractions, you can have repeating and terminating decimals, things like that. So just some examples of the type of trinomials that you'll be factoring in the rest of this chapter would be stuff like this: 3x squared plus 9x minus 10. Okay, so that's just an example of a trinomial that you will be able to factor, hopefully by the end of this week. Okay, another example could be something like negative 2x squared plus 5x plus 7, where in this case a is negative 2, b is 5, c is 7. And just another example I'm pulling out of thin air: x squared minus 5x plus 20. Okay, I'm just pulling these out of thin air, but just to give you some examples. And again, here, what's the value of a in this case? What's the coefficient of x squared? 1. Right? Whenever you don't see a coefficient, imagine there's like an imaginary 1 there. Okay, so a is 1 in that case, b is negative 5, and c is 20. Okay, and while it may feel very arbitrary right now, this expression ax squared plus bx plus c, this is a very, very powerful formula that, well, you really explore the true power of it when you get into grade 11, but you see a little bit of it in grade 10 here, and it can be used for finding things like speeds of bullets, stopping distances for cars when they get in an accident. Right, you can look at the skid mark, and you can, figure out how much the car was weighing, and look at the type of tread that it has, and use that information to figure out how fast they were going before they collided. Okay, things like that. A little bit of forensics. Business trends. So if you're running a business and you want to try to find the optimal price to sell your product at, that formula, as you study more of it, is something that becomes very relevant for those scenarios. Okay, so it's not just angles of rectangles and things like that. Normal factoring. Here are the conditions under which you do normal factoring. Okay, when this coefficient here, the coefficient of x squared, when that coefficient is 1, like this example down here, that's when you do this method known as normal factoring. Okay, so that's what goes in that blank there. It says we do normal factoring on a trinomial when a equals 1. That's what you want to write there. A equals 1. Okay, meaning that the coefficient of x squared is 1. There are other methods for when the coefficient is not 1, which I'll teach you on Wednesday. But we're going to look at a method for when a is equal to 1. You all understand what I mean when I say that? The coefficient of x squared is 1.